The keyword was the enemy. For 2 decades, every retrieval system ever built obeyed one crude rule. A document either contained your word or it did not. Match or miss. Nothing in between. A query for a rare technical term and a query for the word "the" were handled identically, as if every word carried equal weight. They did not. The commonest words told you almost nothing. The rarest told you everything worth knowing. Yet no one had turned that intuition into mathematics a computer could run. In 1972, a quiet linguist in Cambridge finally did. This is how relevance was born, from rarity. Newport and London and 100 other cities shared a problem none of them could see. It lived in basements and back rooms, in the long aisles of card catalogs that grew longer every single year. The end of the Second World War had broken something open. Research that once trickled now surged. Scientific publishing doubled, then doubled again, until the world produced more printed knowledge in a single decade than in the entire century before it. Every paper was a small triumph. Together, they formed a catastrophe. The catastrophe had a simple name. You could not find anything. Consider the librarian, bent over a tray of cards, assigning each new document a handful of subject terms. It was patient, careful work, and it had not fundamentally changed in 200 years. A human read the text, decided what it was about, and filed it under a word. But humans are slow, and the documents were fast. A single indexer might process 40 papers a day while thousands arrived. The world could grow more knowledge than human hands could ever catalog. The bottleneck was not storage. It was retrieval. Then came the machines, and for one bright moment, it seemed the problem was solved. Early computers could store text and search it electronically. Type a word, and the system returned every document containing it, in seconds, without a single tired clerk. The promise was intoxicating. The reality was a disaster of a different shape. Because the machine matched letters, not meaning. It had no judgment. Ask it for documents about a rare fever, and if your query word also appeared in 1,000 unrelated papers, it handed you all 1,000 with a straight face. Every match looked identical. The system could not tell you which results mattered, because it did not believe any result mattered more than another. It treated the word "the" exactly as it treated the word tularemia. One appears in nearly every English sentence ever written. The other appears almost nowhere. To the computer, they weighed the same. This was the flaw beneath the entire field of information retrieval. Boolean search, match or no match, present or absent, could tell you whether a word existed in a document. It could not tell you whether that existence meant anything. A researcher hunting one precise fact would type a query and receive a haystack, then spend hours hunting the needle the machine had buried for them. The tool built to end the search had only moved the search downstream. The numbers told the crisis in stark terms. A single query against a large collection might return 2,000 documents, ranked by nothing at all. Studies of early systems found that the overwhelming majority of those results, often more than 9 in 10, were irrelevant to what the user actually wanted. Precision collapsed as collections grew. The bigger the library, the worse the search. Success was strangling itself. Engineers attacked the problem the way engineers do, with more machinery, faster processors, bigger indexes, more storage. They assumed the bottleneck was a hardware limit, a question of speed and capacity. If only the computer could churn through documents quickly enough, surely the right ones would surface. But speed was never the disease. You could match 1,000,000 documents in an instant and still have no idea which one held the answer. The problem was not how fast the machine searched. It was that the machine did not know what it was reading. What was missing was a sense of importance. A way to tell the machine that not all words are equal, that some are loud and empty, and others are quiet and precious. A human knows this without thinking. We know that "and" tells us nothing about a document's subject, while photosynthesis tells us nearly everything. We weigh words instinctively. The machines could not, because no one had given them the arithmetic of importance. The intuition lived in every reader's mind. It had simply never been written as a formula a computer could run. And here, the field stalled. The solution would not come from the engineers building faster hardware, nor from the librarians refining their subject headings by hand. It would come from an entirely different direction, from someone who studied not circuits or catalogs, but language itself. Someone who had spent years asking how meaning lives inside words, and who would look at this engineering crisis and see underneath it a problem of meaning. Karen Spark Jones was not an engineer. She had not trained as a computer scientist. The discipline barely existed when she began. She had studied history at Cambridge, then philosophy, then drifted into the strange new question of how machines might handle human language. For years, she worked at the margins of a field that did not quite know what to do with her. Computing in the 1950s and 1960s was a world of hardware and circuitry, of men tending room-sized machines. A woman asking philosophical questions about the meaning of words was an outsider twice over. But that outsider angle was precisely the advantage. While engineers saw a storage and speed problem, Spark Jones saw a problem of meaning. She understood that words are not interchangeable tokens. They carry different amounts of information depending on how they are spread across a whole body of text. Some words are scattered everywhere and tell you nothing. Others are concentrated, specific, rare. And rarity, she suspected, was the key to all of it. She had been circling this insight for years, through her work on synonyms, on thesauri, on how language clusters and divides. The question that would define her was forming quietly. If a word appears in almost every document, how useful can it possibly be for telling one document from another? The answer she reached was so simple, it sounds obvious only in hindsight. A word's value as a search term runs inversely to how often it appears across a collection. The more documents a word shows up in, the less it can distinguish between them. The fewer documents contain it, the sharper a signal it becomes. Specificity equals rarity. Rarity equals worth. In 1972, Karen Spark Jones published a paper with a modest technical title, A Statistical Interpretation of Term Specificity and Its Application in Retrieval. It ran only a handful of pages. It made no grand claims, offered no sweeping rhetoric. It proposed, in careful language, a way to measure exactly how much weight any given word deserved, and it quietly reorganized an entire field. The mechanism she described would come to be called inverse document frequency. The idea fits in a single sentence. Take the total number of documents in a collection, divide by the number of documents containing your word, and the result tells you how rare, and therefore how valuable, that word is. A word in every document scores near zero. A word in only a handful scores high. The machine, for the first time, had a number for importance. Consider what this did to the old problem. The word "the" appears in essentially every English document, so its inverse document frequency collapses to almost nothing. It adds no weight to a search, exactly as our intuition insists it should not. But a rare technical term, the name of an obscure disease, a specialized process, a single uncommon concept, appears in very few documents, so its score soars. The machine now knew, mathematically, that finding tularemia in a document meant something, while finding "the" meant nothing at all. This was the insight every engineer had missed, because they were looking at the wrong layer. They had studied the document and the query. Spark Jones studied the collection. The value of a word, she understood, could not be read from the word alone. It emerged only when you looked at how that word was distributed across everything. Importance was not a property of the term. It was a property of the term's scarcity in the whole. The first results were immediate and measurable. When retrieval systems weighted their matches by inverse document frequency, the quality of returned results climbed sharply. In test collections, ranking by her weighting lifted the right documents toward the top so reliably that precision improved several times over against blind Boolean matching. Documents sharing rare, meaningful words with a query rose. Documents that merely contained common words sank. The haystack reorganized itself, and the needle floated up. And ranking changed everything. The old systems answered a binary question. Does this document contain your word, yes or no? Spark Jones's weighting let machines answer a far richer one. How relevant is this document on a scale against all the others? Search stopped being a wall of equal results and became an ordered list, best first. The flat match became a sorted flow. But her idea did not stop where she left it. A weighting scheme is only half of relevance. Knowing that a word is rare across a collection tells you the word matters in general. It does not tell you how much a particular document is about that word. For that, you need a second signal: how often the word appears inside the document itself. A paper that mentions photosynthesis 40 times is more likely about photosynthesis than one that mentions it once. So the field combined the two. Term frequency, how often a word appears in a single document, multiplied by inverse document frequency, how rare that word is across all documents. The product carried a name that would echo through computing for the next half-century: TF-IDF. It balanced two forces in perfect tension. Term frequency rewarded the words a document used heavily. Inverse document frequency punished the words everyone used. Together, they produced a score that captured something genuinely close to aboutness, the degree to which a document was truly concerned with a term. The elegance lived in the balance. A word that appeared often in one document but rarely across the collection scored highest of all. Frequent here, rare everywhere else, the unmistakable signature of a document's true subject. A word that appeared often everywhere, the and of, was crushed back towards zero no matter how many times a single document repeated it. The formula did automatically what a careful reader does instinctively. It separated the words that carry meaning from the words that merely carry sentences. TF-IDF was small enough to write on an index card and powerful enough to reorder a discipline. It needed no special hardware, no enormous computation, no breakthrough in processing speed. It was arithmetic, multiplication, and division, over counts a computer could gather in a single pass. The thing the engineers had tried to crack with raw power had been solved instead with a number. The bottleneck had never been the machine. It had been the missing idea of importance, and now that idea had a form. Through the 1970s and into the 1980s, the weighting spread through the research community. Information retrieval, once a field of yes or no matching, reorganized itself around ranked relevance. Experimental systems adopted the scheme. Papers built on it, refined it, tested its variants against one another. The principle proved durable across collection after collection. Weight by rarity, rank by relevance, and the right documents rise. What had begun as one linguist's statistical interpretation of a single word's specificity was becoming the shared grammar of an entire discipline. And it was about to leave the laboratory entirely. The idea had proven itself in controlled experiments, on curated collections numbering a few thousand documents, among researchers who understood its mathematics. But the world was building something far larger than any test collection, a sprawling, chaotic, ungovernable library that would soon hold not thousands of documents, but billions. When that library arrived, it would demand exactly the tool Spark Jones had built. The formula written for index cards in Cambridge was about to be handed a problem the size of the planet. The library arrived, and it was called the web. By the mid-1990s, documents no longer numbered in the thousands or the millions, but in the hundreds of millions, climbing toward billions, with no librarian, no central catalog, no human hand assigning subject terms to anything at all. It was the old crisis returned at impossible scale. Abundance without retrieval, knowledge without findability. And the tool that met it was the one Karen Spark Jones had sketched 2 decades earlier. Every early search engine leaned on her arithmetic. When a query arrived, the system reached for term frequency and inverse document frequency to decide which of millions of matching pages deserved the top of the list. The principle that rare words carry meaning became the bedrock of ranked search. Even as engineers stacked new signals on top, link analysis, click data, location, the endless machinery of the modern query, the foundation underneath stayed the same. Weight by rarity. Her formula did not compete with these systems. It ran inside them. The numbers tell the scale of it. More than 8 billion searches now flow through retrieval systems every single day, and a vast share of them still pass, in some form, through the weighting she described. TF-IDF and its descendants became the default starting point for measuring how well a document answers a query. It was taught in every information retrieval course, written into every textbook, built into nearly every search library a programmer might reach for. A single idea, born in a few pages in 1972, had become invisible infrastructure beneath the way the world finds anything at all. Nor did its reach stop at search. The same insight that a word's importance depends on how rarely it appears flowed outward into the whole field of natural language processing. Document classification used it to sort text by subject. Recommendation systems used it to match content. The earliest methods for teaching machines to represent the meaning of words traced their logic to the same statistical intuition. That meaning lives in distribution, that you understand a word by the company it keeps and the rarity it holds. The vast language systems of today are distant descendants of a question a Cambridge linguist asked about a single term's specificity. And yet, for most of those years, almost no one knew her name. This is the quiet injustice at the center of the story. The men who built the search engines became famous. The companies became giants worth hundreds of billions. The formula became universal. But the woman who supplied its foundational half worked on, largely uncelebrated outside her field, while the world she had reshaped forgot to ask who had reshaped it. Karen Spark Jones spent her career at Cambridge, advancing the science of language and retrieval, mentoring students, publishing steadily, and watching a discipline that had barely had room for her in the beginning grow into one of the most powerful industries on Earth. She had little patience for the erasure of women from computing, and she said so plainly. Her conviction was blunt and often repeated by those who knew her work. Computing was too important to be left to men. She meant it as both a challenge and a correction, a reminder that the field had been built by minds of every kind, and that forgetting them impoverished everyone. She had lived the truth of it. She was the outsider who had seen what the insiders missed, precisely because she had come from somewhere else. Karen Spark Jones died in 2007, shortly after finally receiving some of the recognition her work had long deserved. By then, the search box had become the front door to human knowledge, and behind it, weighing every word, ran the principle she had given the world. The honors came late, as they so often do. But the idea had never needed her name to keep working. It had been laboring quietly inside every query for 35 years. Think back to that room in Cambridge, stacked with index cards, each one a small surrender to a problem no machine could solve. The computers could store everything and find nothing, because they treated every word as equal and so understood none of them. That was the wall. The breakthrough was not a faster machine or a bigger index. It was one woman who looked at the flood of words and understood that scarcity is meaning, that the rarest words are the ones that tell you where to look. The keyword had been the enemy. The blind equal match that buried the vital beside the trivial and called them the same. Spark Jones did not make the machines faster. She made them discerning. She gave them the one thing they had always lacked, a sense that some words matter more than others, and a number to prove it. After her, search was no longer a flat wall of matches. It became a ranked stream, signal lifted clear of noise, the precious word rising to the top exactly where it belonged. We stopped drowning in our own knowledge the day one linguist taught the machines to weigh their words. The information age did not become navigable because we built bigger libraries. It became navigable because someone gave the search a sense of importance, turning a haystack into an ordered list, noise into signal, the buried answer into the first result. Today, every time you type a question and the right page appears at the top, you are using her idea. Most people will never know the name. The true legacy is not the formula on the card or the citations in the textbooks. It is the silent, instant act of relevance, the search that finally understands that the rarest word in your question is the one that matters most. That is what she built. That is what history nearly forgot. If you want to discover more hidden architects of the world we live in, subscribe, because the next forgotten mind shaped something you use every single day.